You wake up 10,000 years ago. Your neighbor rode past your hut this morning, sitting on a cart. An ox was pulling, and she didn't even wave, just watched you hauling water by hand and smiled like it was funny. You've decided right there that you are never getting an ox. Oxen need feeding. Oxen need patience. Oxen have opinions about you. What you want is a machine, something that hauls you around and never once looks at you like you're the slow one. You've noticed something. Dragging a kill back to camp across bare dirt is brutal, but shove it up onto a couple of fallen logs first, and it practically rolls itself, takes half the load off your shoulders. So you start wondering why you're leaving this up to whatever branches happen to be lying around. Why not make one on purpose? Bigger, sturdier, shaped for exactly this, instead of hoping you trip over the right logs every time. You try it with a slab of stone first, chipping the edges round. It rolls sort of lopsided and stupid looking. Then you drill a hole through the center and thread a straight branch through it, and the wobble mostly disappears. You, being the genius you are, have just built a wheel and an axle without either word existing yet. This is roughly how it actually happened. The oldest wheel anyone's dug out of the ground, the Ljubljana Marshes wheel from a Slovenian bog, is about 5,150 years old, already fitted with an axle just like yours. Wheels, done. Car, still nowhere close. A wheel just rolls. It doesn't move unless something else pulls it, and the whole point of a car is that nothing pulls it. You need heat to push something, and heat pushing something is called an engine, and engines don't exist yet. You heat water one day for something else entirely, lid jammed on tight, and the lid doesn't just steam, it rattles, then shoots clean off and nearly takes your ear with it. Water, heated, turns into a white Russian gas, and that gas wants out badly enough to throw solid objects across the room, pure force, and all it took was heat and water. Fun fact, this already happened in real history too. Hero of Alexandria built almost exactly this in 1st century Egypt, a sealed copper sphere that spun on jets of its own steam and used it to impress priests at temple shows. Never once pointed it at anything useful. You want that force pushing something sturdier than a rattling lid, so you build a proper sealed tank. Thin copper splits wide open the first time you actually heat it under pressure. Iron doesn't. Hammered thick, sealed hot enough that the seam holds, instead of splitting. Turns out that's real too. Hittite metalworking, centuries before you, refined for 1,000 years before anyone thinks to point a furnace at a boiler instead of a sword. The steam only pushes in one straight line though, and a wheel needs to spin, not push. You rig a rod off the piston onto an off-center peg on the axle, shove forward, the peg drags sideways, shove back, it drags again, and the whole wheel starts turning itself. Someone else worked this out too, apparently. The Banu Musa brothers, 9th century Baghdad, wired up the exact same crank for a self-refilling fountain, not a wheel. Same trick either way. Half your steam keeps hissing out past the piston instead of pushing it though, so you spin the cylinder against a fixed blade until the gap closes up and the seal actually holds. Egyptian and Greek craftsmen have been doing that exact move for centuries, a lathe, just for shaping wooden bowls, not engines. Boiler, piston, crank, axle, wheel, stack it all onto one frame, and you, being the genius you are, realize it doesn't need to power a fountain or a temple trick anymore. It can just carry itself. It runs. Badly, 2.5 miles an hour, stopping every 15 minutes to rebuild pressure, loud enough to wake the whole camp, and taking it for one lap around camp somehow still ends with you nose first in a fence post. You're not alone there either. Nicholas Joseph Cugnot builds almost this exact machine in 1769, the Fardier à vapeur, and in 1771 loses control of it on a test run through Paris and drives it straight into a stone wall, the first car crash in recorded history, and his hadn't even cleared the first block either. It runs. It's loud, it's slow, it smells like a coal fire, and it's already put you face first into a fence post. Somewhere, a chief is already wondering who gets to drive the thing next. The chief claims it first, obviously. Within a week of the boiler cooling for the first time, there's a decree. The machine belongs to the village, which in practice means it belongs to whoever's in charge, which means the chief has taken up supervising road conditions as a full-time job that consists mostly of riding around at walking pace while everyone else works. Someone has to feed the firebox, and that job goes to Dell, who used to be the best ox cart driver in the village, and now shovels coal for a living. Dell has opinions about this. Dell shares these opinions with anyone standing near the boiler for more than 4 seconds. Nobody knows how to steer it yet, so the first week produces 3 collapsed fences, 1 flattened vegetable stall, and a goat that will not go near the machine again under any circumstances. The stall owner wants compensation. The chief's cousin was driving. Nobody involved thinks this dispute is getting resolved before the harvest. A betting circle forms almost immediately. How far can it go before the boiler needs refilling? How fast can it cover the stretch between the well and the granary? Whether it can beat a fast runner over that same stretch? It cannot. It loses to the runner every time, and everyone bets against the runner every time anyway, because watching an iron machine hiss and clank and lose to a teenager on foot never stops being funny. Someone starts charging for rides. 3 eggs, once around the market square. No refunds if you fall off. Business is good until the chief notices people are making eggs off his machine and announces a toll for road use, which is the entire width of the village, which is every road there is. A courier tries to use it for actual deliveries and discovers the 15-minute reboiling stops make it slower door to door than just walking. He keeps using it anyway because it looks important, and because the alternative is admitting he liked the attention more than the job. Then there's Grack. Grack's wife tells the village council that Grack couldn't have been where he says he was on the night in question, because the machine, the only one in the village, loud enough to hear from 3 streets over, was parked outside her sister's house the entire evening, and everyone within earshot can confirm it never moved. Grack has no answer for this. Grack's marriage does not survive the first month a machine in this village was capable of proving where anyone actually was. By the time the second boiler gets built, nobody's talking about the fountains it descended from, or the caliph's court, or the wall Cohenot drove it into. They're arguing about whose turn it is to shovel coal, whether the toll applies to people walking next to it, and how a hissing iron cart somehow already knows more about their business than they'd like it to.